please. Today, we're going to unpack a super fascinating snapshot of the gaming community. We're looking closely at the trending media landscape from mid-2026, and honestly, the data tells an incredible story. By tracking exactly what millions of gamers are clicking on, watching, and debating, we can map out the current mood of the entire industry. It's this wild mix of severe frustration, pointing fingers, and a passionate search for hope. So, let's dive right in and see what the numbers are telling us about the gaming zeitgeist.
Here's what we'll be covering today: the 2026 disappointment trend, the AA industry problem, publishers ruining franchises, single-player and RPG saviors, and finally, the GTA V factor.
All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, the 2026 disappointment trend.
So to really get a feel for the current climate, we gotta look at the first half of 2026 in gaming. A massive channel, Gameranks, dropped an analysis on the 10 most disappointing games, and it absolutely blew up. We're talking over 121,000 views in just 14 hours. The main takeaway? Yeah, 2026 delivered a ton of hits for sure, but a select few highly anticipated games spectacularly failed to meet expectations. And we aren't just talking about a couple of minor glitches here. The sources highlight that we are talking about massive titles launching riddled with game-breaking performance bugs or just completely missing promised features that were heavily marketed right up to release. It's this exact tension. Massive, hyped-up highs crashing straight into stark, broken letdowns that's completely defining the player experience right now.
Which brings us to a really crucial question. Are these disappointing games just isolated accidents? Bad luck in a tough development cycle? Or are they symptoms of a much larger, systemic trend? Well, to figure that out, we have to look at what else gamers are consuming and debating right now.
Moving on to Section 2, the AA industry problem. When we pull back and look at the broader trends across major blockbuster media, a highly critical picture emerges. We're seeing massive engagement with content that highlights how older games are actually embarrassing modern AAA titles. The prevailing argument is that back in the day, games often released as complete, highly polished experiences right out of the box, without being heavily gated by predatory microtransactions or needing massive day-one patches just to work. Alongside this, there's this growing, really loud discourse arguing that gaming actually got, quote, worse on purpose. And this frustration, it bleeds into wider media too. Huge audiences are flocking to critiques asking why every major streaming blockbuster feels so lackluster and formulaic lately. The overarching feeling of declining quality across all big-budget media is absolutely dominating the conversation. Get this, 244,000. That is the number of people who watched a deep dive analysis by the creator Jimmy the Giant titled, "Yes, Gaming Got Worse on Purpose." Think about that for a second. Nearly 250,000 people are so disillusioned that they're actively engaging with the theory that declining quality is a deliberate feature of modern game development, not a bug. The core argument here is that prioritizing long-term live service monetization, forcing constant online connectivity, and pushing rushed release windows just to appease shareholders, it actively degrades the core gameplay experience. Basically, the narrative is that pure fun is taking a back seat to maximizing recurring revenue. That leads us right into Section 3, publishers ruining franchises. So, if the games are getting worse, who exactly does the community blame? Well, look at this massive number, 573,000 views. Over the past month, this was one of the absolute highest metrics of engagement we saw anywhere in the gaming space. Over 500,000 gamers are tuning in to focus their frustration on one very specific entity. And that 500,000 strong audience was watching a video literally titled 20 Game Franchises Ruined by Publishers. It's fascinating because this shows that the community generally isn't blaming the creative developers on the ground, the ones who actually code and design the games. Instead, the blame is overwhelmingly placed on corporate interference. Based on these highly viewed sources, gamers view publishers as these aggressive forces that actively dilute their favorite long-standing franchises. The argument goes that executives force live service elements, battle passes, and heavy monetization into single-player franchises that absolutely never needed them, and ultimately it just alienates the core fanbases.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, single-player and RPG saviors.
Because look, it's not all doom and gloom. While gamers are definitely pushing back against corporate publishers, they are aggressively seeking out alternatives. And the perceived antidote to bad modern AAA standards and ruined franchises, massive, immersive single-player experiences. Gamers are flocking to curated lists like the 30 best single-player games you absolutely must play, and they are deeply anticipating upcoming RPGs. These genre represents a pure escape from modern blockbuster fatigue. Players are actively hunting for games that have a definitive beginning, middle, and end, without a digital storefront being shoved in their faces.
And the data totally backs this up in a huge way. Nearly 500,000 viewers, 485,000 to be exact, tuned into a video by BOZUSC titled 13 Upcoming RPGs That Will Steal Your Year. I mean, let that phrase sink in, steal your year. Gamers aren't looking for bite-sized, heavily monetized daily login drops right now. Nope. They are hungry for deep, rich, single-player role-playing games that offer immense value and actually respect their time. They want sweeping narratives, complex characters, and worlds they can just get lost in for hundreds of hours. The sheer demand for these traditional, story-driven experiences is absolutely thriving right now as a direct counter-movement to live service exhaustion.
Which brings us to our final point. Section 5. The GTA 6 factor.
Finally, we've got to talk about the elephant in the room. You literally cannot talk about the current landscape without acknowledging the ultimate disruptor looming on the horizon. Take this incredibly powerful quote that's currently making waves from the channel 1UP Binge. GTA 6 will burn down the game industry. Here's why. It perfectly encapsulates the immense tension of the 2026 zeitgeist. On one hand, players are completely exhausted by corporate disappointments and rushed releases. But on the other hand, the intense, unprecedented anticipation for a massive, meticulously crafted single-player experience like GTA 6 shows the stakes have literally never been higher. So I leave you with this. Will major publishers actually learn from this deep consumer frustration and pivot their strategies? Or are we truly just waiting for one monumental